What is going on, my specialist SPC here, and welcome back to the Midwest Cantina podcast. So, guys, I know you probably just saw the last two that just popped up, but for whatever reason, I was just was choking pretty bad, so I decided to kind of change it up. Maybe we can just get some guests in here one of these times. Maybe we can actually talk about the Mandalorian a little bit more, but I decided just to kind of change up the topic now because there is actually some new Star Wars ish news going on right now. So, as of a couple of days ago, today is May the 1st. We're 3 days away from May the 4th, Star Wars Day. So, and I will be bringing up and talking about that here in just a little bit, somewhere in the podcast, probably at the end. So just make sure you guys stay tuned. Just this past week, we received the final community transmission for Star Wars Battlefront II. And for you guys who have all been here on the channel for quite a long time, you guys know that I almost played Battlefront 2 religiously. Like, I think I don't even remember when, but for quite a while, for literally like 7 months straight, I like played it and uploaded videos and live streamed and did this and did that. And I swore up and down about the game. But now, unfortunately, it seems as though EA and DICE are almost essentially abandoning the game, because we just recently got the Scarif update, and we'll kind of get into that here a little bit later on in the podcast. But let's talk about the actual legacy of the Battlefront series. I mean, we got the very first Star Wars Battlefront game way back. I want to say it was around 2002, I want to say. I think we'll just stick with that here for right now. But the very first Battlefront, it was essentially just more, boots on the ground kind of thing. And then we ended up getting a couple years later what, for me, still to this day has been my favorite of the entire Battlefront series, the original Star Wars Battlefront 2. Because that was when we started getting more and more heroes. We started getting people like, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then we even got a little PSP game. And to my knowledge, I don't think that really did very well. And then in 2015, we got Star Wars Battlefront. We can't even say like remastered, but EA and DICE got the rights to the Battlefront series. So we ended up getting what was just an original trilogy game. So it just took place in 4, 5, and 6 of the trilogy. And I mean, it was an absolutely beautiful game. Like, that was another game where I honestly put so many hours in. I even have it saved on my actual, on the game. It shows you how many hours you played, how your KD is and everything. And I think the last time I checked, I honestly put almost 200 hours into the very first Battlefront game. I also had a lot of friends. That's kind of how I met some of my friends, was actually playing Battlefront 2. And then a couple of years later, we ended up getting news that they were going to be doing another Battlefront game. And we were going to be getting prequel trilogy, original trilogy, and then adding in the sequel trilogy. And I played the open beta for the game, and I was absolutely blown away. I could not wait to play Battlefront 2. And then the game actually came out. The first thing that I played was the campaign, and that was going to be one of the biggest selling points of this game, is because the Battlefront 2015 was essentially just all online multiplayer. But the one that sold this is we were actually going to be playing, I guess I don't want to say like a trooper. You're playing a special forces operative in the Empire for it's called Inferno Squadron. And we were basically told and even shown in the trailers that it was going to be an Empire-centric campaign. And you really only play in the Empire depending on how good of a player you are and what kind of difficulty you play the game on. You're only playing as an Imperial for probably maybe an hour and a half of the game. Iden ends up going to her home planet of Vardos and ends up seeing how the Empire is, seeing how Operation Cinder is affecting the galaxy. And she doesn't like that, and she leaves the Empire alongside her, I guess one of her partners, Dell. And their third member, Agent Hask, who's actually played by Paul Blackthorne. If you guys don't know who Paul Blackthorne is, he plays Quentin Lance on the TV show Arrow. So it was actually really surprising to see him in there. And I'm going to say this right now, I might even be one of the very few people in the world who did, but I actually really enjoyed playing the Battlefront 2 campaign. It was good looking. I loved all the planets that we went to. I liked how in certain parts of the game, you got to play as heroes. So for like a good little while, you play as Iden, and then you end up going to this planet called Pilio, where Luke is actually there searching for this secret vault of the Emperors, trying to find what I believe is a compass of some sorts, or kind of like a map. You get to see it a little bit here and there in The Last Jedi. And you actually end up getting to play as Luke, and you get to go around fighting Imperials. You end up getting to meet with Dell. He actually ends up helping you. And then you play as Iden again for a little bit, and then you end up being on Naboo alongside Leia. You end up getting to play as Leia for a while. And it's actually really cool to see Leia actually heading towards and battling on the planet that her mother, Padme Amidala, actually ruled over, and getting to see her going towards the throne, where again her mother used to rule over the planet. Essentially the roots of her personality, I guess you could kind of say. Then a little bit later on, you get to play as Lando. You end up getting to also play as Han, and he's actually on Takodana inside of Maz's castle, just sitting there having a drink, trying to find this special informant. But you actually also even get to play the Battle of Jakku at the actual end of the base campaign. There's also an add-on called Resurrection, but we'll get to that here soon. You get to see the Star Destroyer that falls down, the one that's in the background in The Force Awakens. You also get to see where the AT-AT falls down, the one that Rey actually lives in. Because that was actually the final battle of the Galactic Civil War. So it was cool to kind of be in the middle of all that, getting to fight off stormtroopers, getting to fight off TIE fighters, all that kind of stuff. But then after that, after getting through the base campaign, that was when I decided it was obviously, of course, time to start playing online. And anybody, and I mean anybody who has played Battlefront II already knows about how rocky of a start this game was. You didn't really have a lot of characters unlocked. Characters that were actually locked that you had to work your way towards were Luke, Vader, Chewbacca, and I believe Palpatine was the other one. But when the game first actually launched, Luke and Vader were both locked behind 60,000 credits. And apparently some guy did the math. I might be messing this up, so if anybody knows, please let me know. But I'm pretty sure somebody said you had to play for a good 70 plus hours to get all them credits. And that's just constantly playing, even playing in like Galactic Assault. Then a few days after the game came out, the team members at DICE ended up lowering the price down to 15,000. And then I think the Emperor was 10,000 and Chewbacca was like 5,000. It's for me, it's a little strange that they had Chewbacca locked out of everybody. But again, they also had, sequel trilogy characters like Rey, Kylo Ren. Then they had prequel trilogy characters such as Yoda and Darth Maul. I can't believe I forgot about that. But it was even hard really to play as a hero in certain game modes. I know a lot of people had a lot of different problems with heroes versus villains. That was actually my favorite game mode, but we'll get into that here. It was a very, very hard start to the game. I mean, the first year of its existence, it was just dragged through the mud. Because even like the updates weren't all that good. About 6 months after it came out, let's backtrack here. About a month after the game came out, it was right around the time when The Last Jedi came out. And that's back when the DLC season were called seasons. So you got to choose to play as either the Resistance and be Finn, or be the First Order and be Phasma. I went with the First Order because for whatever reason I like the villain sides with the stormtroopers and whatnot, but the entire community ended up having specific challenges they had to do. So we all had to get so many kills with the First Order. We had to get so much damage or whatever. And you ended up beating the team. Whoever got to like their points the fastest ended up getting special crates. And of course, like I said, I ended up choosing the First Order. So I ended up getting a like fully maxed out star card. But as I was also just saying there about the crates, that was the biggest problem with Battlefront 2 was the inclusion of microtransactions. And for a lot of people, it ended up really killing the game. I mean, because everybody was just, using their credit cards, just spending all their money, and just basically getting the best cards they could get. Like me, I never did that. I was just a guy where I would. Back then, there were things called crafting parts you could use. You'd open up a crate and you'd get crafting parts, and it'd allow you to upgrade your star cards. And they had, I believe, three different crates. There was a hero crate, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but like a soldier crate and a starfighter crate. I always went with the hero crate because it was the cheapest out of them all. It was only, I think, like maybe, and again, I might be saying these wrong. It's been a long time since this happened, but I think it was only like 1,500 credits or so to unlock it. And, you'd get some cosmetics for your characters, or you'd get a certain star card, or you'd get an upgraded version of a star card you already had. And that's usually how I ended up upgrading all my stuff. I ended up just using up my credits, using my crafting parts, getting all the cards that I wanted to get. And slowly over the years, they ended up like just completely getting rid of that. They got rid of the crafting parts. They allowed you to get certain crystals for doing specific things. And you could use those to even like unlock certain like skins, or again, other star cards or whatever. And that's essentially what I did. I mean, you can tell who the players are who are actually, trying to play the game, actually trying to do their best, and actually try to, have fun. And then you see all the people who have been buying all the best star cards after you get killed by them, just literally days after the game comes out, and all of a sudden their star cards are completely maxed out on their assault class or their heavy class or whatever class they were using. And of course, even the heroes too, like you're already playing against people who like already have completely maxed out star cards for their heroes, and you're getting just decimated. But even though all that stuff happened, I tried to put it off to the side, and I ended up just continuing to play the game and having fun. But getting back into the seasons thing, we didn't have a season for a large number of months after the Last Jedi season because a lot of people did not have fun with it. Yes, we did get a new map in Crate. Yes, we did get 2 new heroes in Finn and Phasma. But there just wasn't really anything coming in lately to make us wanting to continue to keep playing. Thus, we get the Solo season. So, of course, we get the skins for Han Solo and Lando from the film. And we even get a skin for Chewbacca, too. And we get a new map. We get a returning game mode of Extraction, which was one of my favorite game modes to play when I was playing the first Battlefront, when I believe it was the Outer Rim DLC came out. So I was really excited for that when it came out. But then for like a good long while, the glitches were bad. There's just so much lag in the game too, and there were just so many people spamming things, and you kept getting kicked out of games. You'd be getting on these nice, good kill streaks. You'd be building up all your points. You'd be leveling up your characters. Then all of a sudden, boom, you just get kicked right out of the game. And I want to say it was about 2 months after the Solo season came out. I made a video and I put, "Is there hope for Battlefront 2?" Because I was starting to get very salty playing the game. And I don't like getting salty when I play games. I usually like to play games just to have fun. Again, that was my escape from like all the stresses of like my day. I could just come home, I could just turn on Battlefront 2 and I can just go have a good time, play through it and just loosen up, have fun, whatever. But when you get home from a stressful day at work and you want to turn on Battlefront 2 and you want to play and you're getting kicked out of games, you're getting laggy moments, you're getting killed over stupid little things that you shouldn't be killed off of. And it just like sours up your day even more. So it's like, why am I even playing this? So there was a good span of months that I actually didn't even touch Battlefront 2. And heck, I even just got into that recently. Like, no joke, I probably haven't touched or played Battlefront 2 in probably a good 4 to 5 months. Because I think I burnt myself out of the game, because I know lots of people wanted me to play it, because especially now I see the Scarif update and I want to get in, I want to play it. Just like when the Rise of Skywalker update came here back in December, like I wanted to get back in and play, and I really wanted to see what the game was like. But now every time I turn the game on, the only thing I ever do is just stare at the screen and really just wonder if that's really what I want to do. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but I think the developers were actually really starting to listen to everybody, because a lot of people were not happy with Battlefront 2. I was one of them. And then we ended up getting an announcement that they were going to be heading to the Clone Wars. So we were going to be getting heroes like Obi-Wan, Anakin, General Grievous, and Count Dooku. And man, I got to tell you guys, when the Geonosis update came to Battlefront 2, it legitimately like revitalized the game. Like, so many people were getting into the game, or I was getting back into the game, because I was excited, because the trailers they showed for Geonosis, showing us Obi-Wan, showing us Grievous, I was actually really excited to play the game again. Like, I honestly couldn't wait to get home, turn on my PlayStation, update the game, hop into Geonosis, and just experience it for myself. Even the new heroes, Obi-Wan, General Grievous, probably two of my favorite characters to play as in that game. And then a number of months later, we get another update. We get Anakin. We get Count Dooku. We got another new game mode. I mean, the game, it was insane of like how much of like a 360 this game made in its short span of time, in a little over a year. And, you know, we get update after update after update, and it makes the game more fun, more exciting for people. And, I mean, you could even tell the developers were really just passionate about this game, because they put in so much time, so much effort doing these little hot patches, actually putting on their website of the things they were actually going to fix. Because, yeah, there were little bugs here and there that were very, noticeable. Like, trying to think of what a few are at the top of my head. I think it was one of Anakin's abilities. I want to say it was either his big force push or his I think it's called like retribution or retaliation or something, where he's lifting people up in the air. Essentially, when he's doing his move, it will look like he'll do the motion, but like everybody will be on the ground and they'll just be like frozen there. And I think another one too was every time Han would throw his detonator and you'd ignite it or whatever, it wouldn't actually show the explosion. Like, you'd still get the damage onto the hero, but you just didn't actually like see anything. And I guess to kind of like switch gears too, the other big thing I want to talk about that was a very amazing thing about the game were the actual maps. Like I brought up before, Geonosis was really good. My favorite map in the entire game is Naboo, because it's so realistic. They just put so much attention to detail into like the palace or the streets of Naboo. Other great ones too. They have Kamino, Tatooine, Crate. What are some other ones? Kashyyyk. Kashyyyk is another really good looking map. I really like Kashyyyk. That one's probably my, I want to say, second or third favorite. I really couldn't tell you right now. We even got maps that we didn't even get in the last game. We got Yavin 4. I brought up again Crate because, of course, obviously, the original game was just more about the original trilogy. Or even like this game, like they announced there wasn't going to be no season pass. There wasn't going to be anything like that. Like everything was going to be free for the community. So every single hero, every single map, every single new game mode, everything was going to be added into the game for free. You didn't have to pay anything extra. The only things you would had to pay for, which essentially, I guess in a way, they still have microtransactions in the game. You could still buy different, like the crystals. You can buy like a certain amount for so many dollars. But now they also added recently here, I want to say maybe about 3 months back, was the Celebration Edition, where you've bought that and you had all the skins unlocked for every single character. Another great thing they added here recently in the last year is community challenges. Basically, for a few I can name off the top of my head, the Farmer Luke and the actual Princess Leia. As a community, you'd have to get, I think it was like either like 1 million points or 1 million kills or something like that. You had to get so many kills with Luke, and everybody in the community would unlock the skin for you. I must have deleted the game or didn't get the update in time. I ended up not getting Farmer Luke, which was a little upsetting, but at the same time, it's not a big deal because I really wasn't the biggest fan of Luke in the game. But it's nice to like have everybody work as an actual community, because as you guys obviously know, I talk about it quite a bit here, even during these podcasts. Like the toxicity of like people in Star Wars, they can't agree on anything, but it's nice working together as a community to actually get these rewards. Of course, too, though, there are the people who, they hear that they're going to be having this big community challenge for everybody. And I'm sure a lot of people, they just kind of, kick back, relax, kind of let everybody do the thing, log in after a few days when everything's over and done with, because I'm sure they know that the community is going to do the challenge. And all they got to do is just log in, get the skin or get the emote or get whatever the community challenge was, and they basically got it for free, not having to do a single thing. Like, I didn't even know there was a community challenge for the Leia skin. And all of a sudden I logged in and it said I had a brand new skin for Leia. And I went in and it's her princess outfit. I'm like, oh, well, okay. And then, they had the farm boy Luke, and I wanted to get in on that, and I wanted to actually like play and actually try to earn it. Well, again, I must have missed out because I didn't update my game in time, or like I said, I might have deleted it. I can't even remember. I've probably deleted the game a couple of times since I've owned it. But I like the community challenges were like a good, nice change of pace. And even too, every time you log into the game, you would get a crate, and it wasn't a lot, but you'd get like a free like 500 credits just for logging in for the day. But then they keep adding more and more and more updates. They keep adding in, alongside every new Jedi, they'd give us more and more skins for the clones. Basically, like almost an entire year of this game was dedicated strictly to the Clone Wars era. Again, new skins for the clones, Jedi, different maps that took place big in the Clone Wars. And it was nice because that's an era of Star Wars that a lot of people can really enjoy. The Clone Wars is one of my favorite things in the prequel trilogy. Of course, you guys know I haven't seen or watched much of the Clone Wars, but that's also one of the other things too, though, that I don't like about what they did with the Clone Wars stuff. They had the guy who voiced Jango Fett. They have him voicing Boba, of course, since Boba's the clone of him. But when it actually comes to the voices of the clones, it's a different actor. I think his name is like D. Bradley Baker. I think he plays all the clones in the TCW animated TV show. And you've also got Matt Lanter voicing Anakin. And of course, you guys know my opinion on that. I'm not the biggest fan of that voice of Anakin. And you have James Arnold Taylor voicing Obi-Wan Kenobi. That one's not bad. Like, I can live with him. He actually does a pretty good job at playing Obi-Wan. And I don't know who voices Dooku. I can't think of who he is, but he's not bad either. Obviously, of course, most of the people who voice all the prequel era are all the people from the Clone Wars TV show. But again, the game always has, every single game is going to have like their little rough patch. Because I remember too making a video too that there was a glitch going around in the game for a little while where if you spawned in too fast, you essentially would you'd keep your screen on. Because once you get in after you die, or even when you actually first get into your game, you have a squad of people, and it allows you to pick one of them 4 people to spawn in on. Well, there's a way if you press the X button a little too fast or too much, you'd basically glitch the game out, and you could just sit there and you could just keep hitting X and spawning on your person repeatedly and repeatedly. And I think I still have it up on my channel. If I do, I'll try to put it up above here in this video, up with the little cards in the corner. But there was a guy, he was getting all sorts of points just having his friends spawn in on him, and automatically he was able to come in as a hero because of the glitch. It took them quite a good while to actually, get rid of that glitch, because I was doing it like accidentally. Like, I was trying to like just spawn in on my friend, but like I was running, but I could still like choose somebody else to like spawn in on, and I was like teleporting all over the map. I think I called it something like the instant transmission glitch or something. Dragon Ball Z quote for those of you who don't know. But I mean, they ended up doing a hot patch. They ended up getting rid of that. I think from what they actually did, I don't think they actually like entirely fixed it at that point. I think they just kind of stopped with the point system. And every time you spawn in on somebody, you wouldn't get like the squad point spawn. Since I've also been kind of like bringing them up here and there, I know I'm kind of jumping all over. I'm not really going in like linear order. Again, if you guys were kind of listening, if anybody listened to my attempt at my last 2 podcasts for The Mandalorian, I kept like spacing out while I was talking. But I also want to talk about, the heroes themselves. Some heroes are actually pretty decent. For me, I guess I would say probably some of the worst heroes in the game, personally to me. And I know a lot of people are giving me a hard time about it because they know he's like probably my least favorite character in all of Star Wars, personally. But I personally think Boba Fett is still the worst character in the game. And I'd probably say Rey overall is the best character. She's got probably the best abilities. She's got some pretty powerful lightsaber swings and stuff. Of course, she is also voiced by Daisy Ridley, so. And of course, you got your like medium or like your perfect blend of like some bad, some good. You got like Lando. He's an okay hero. Finn isn't too bad either. Phasma, I actually didn't think Phasma was bad. Her staff ability is just it's not a good ability. I'm sorry. I mean, it's cool seeing it in The Last Jedi and see her kind of use it, but it really does like nothing. I think I've gotten maybe 3 kills with that staff. I think 2 of them actually were Yoda when I was playing Heroes versus Villains. But, there's also, some of my favorite characters to play as in that game. Of course, like I said, Rey. Palpatine's actually pretty good. I had really mixed feelings on Palpatine when I first played as him. Of course, I didn't really know how to actually play as him. Then I started figuring him out, using his lightning a lot more, finding the right star cards. That's the thing that's going to make your heroes very good, is actually picking the right star cards. Which, for you guys who don't know, in the Battlefront 2015, you couldn't use star cards for your heroes back then. It was just your base soldier that you could use them on. But this game, there would be like health on kill cards, and if you killed like an enemy hero, you get 100 health, or you killed a soldier, you get 20 health. Or for like force push people like Luke, if you added 1 star card on, you would increase the pushback of the force push, or you'd increase the range of the force push and stuff like that. That was what could make even like the worst characters the biggest threats. Because again, I think for me, the reason I just don't like Boba Fett is just because I don't know how to use him. And I've taken the time, I've tried to use him in certain game modes, and it's just, it still doesn't work out for me, unfortunately. And it's very sad because, I mean, again, every single hero in the game could be good. There are people who are amazingly good with Boba Fett. You also got people who are amazingly good with Yoda, amazingly good with Luke. Just my heroes that I'm really good with, like Rey. Like I said, Rey is probably, for me, my favorite, and for me, the best hero in the game. I like using Kylo. I like using Vader. I like using the Emperor, Obi-Wan. And then we get to, like, even Grievous. Like, Grievous is so overpowered. Again, I haven't played the game in months, so I don't know if they've done, like, buffs or nerfs or anything for him or his abilities, but Grievous was always a fun one too to use, but he was so overpowered. You could easily beat a lightsaber hero or even a blaster hero with just literally 3 to 4 lightsaber swings. But then, you get to a hero like Anakin, and even like upon launch, like he's just was so overpowered. Because he's I think he's the only hero, since of course he's the chosen one, so it kind of makes some sense. But he has 4 abilities, and of course one of them I brought up, the Retribution. I think that's what it's called, Retribution, where he can like lift up enemies in the air and he's essentially force choking them. He's got a powerful lightsaber swing that can go through anybody's defense. He's got his own version of the force pole that brings him in there. And he's also got a force ability where he can stand in the middle of a bunch of, I want to say villains, but a bunch of enemies. And like the more and more people shoot at him, the more and more powerful he gets, and he just unleashes this big shockwave of force energy. And I mean, I've gotten a lot of kills with Anakin. Again, I have another video showing like my very first gameplay with Anakin, and I mean, I was like, there were even sometimes fighting certain enemies, I felt like I wasn't even trying to actually like use him. I was just basically pressing buttons and just seeing what was happening. The game, I don't know, just sometimes like the game is just so weird when you're playing it, because like you'll get your really good games where you're doing really good. Like I'd have one game where I'm doing really good as Count Dooku, and then you get to play as the dark side in the next game, and you end up picking Dooku again, and you just get destroyed. Like one game I could go like, it's not the greatest KD ever, but I could go like 20 and like 15. And then the next game I've got like 10 and I've got like almost 30 deaths. It's just games like that. I mean, that's one of the other big problems I know people have with the game. And I'll even say I'm one of them still. The dark side is so overpowered. I mean, they've got a lot of force users there. I mean, they got Vader, Palpatine, Kylo, Darth Maul, Count Dooku. Even if you just want to count lightsaber villains overall, they've got Grievous in there too. Then, of course, they got their other heroes such as Iden, Boba Fett, Bosk, and even Iden is in the game. Like, they have Iden in there, and it's cool. And Phasma. Like, there are certain games I can do really good with certain heroes depending on who it is. Like, for the longest time, I'd play as Leia because there were points in time where I thought she was the overall best character in the game. She was actually the very first video I did of my how to play Star Wars Battlefront II series that I did and unfortunately never finished. Also, Battlefront 2 even I was about to say convinced, but inspired me to make my challenge SPC video series that I did. And still really sad that unfortunately didn't end up paying off or taking off as well as I thought it would. I only had a couple of people play it. But again, like there were so many games I could do good in, and I'd uploaded them. That's why I worded this podcast as the rise and fall of Battlefront 2, because again, this game, it's just had a whole bunch of ups, but it's also had a whole bunch of downs. It's a game I've had a lot of mixed feelings of, and again, I think I like burnt myself out of the game just because I'd play it every single day when I'd get off of work. I'd come home, I'd go upstairs, hang out, eat, do whatever, and then I'd come downstairs for anywhere from 2 to even like 5 hours of playing. There would even be days that I'd do live streams here on YouTube for Battlefront 2, and I'd still be playing the game like hours later. And it was really easy to, though, because of the multiple game modes it even had, too. You had your blast, basically your team deathmatch, heroes versus villains, galactic assault, starship assault, extraction. They added Ewok Hunt, where you actually got to play as an Ewok in the game, which it's not a bad mode. It's just more of a, get away from, all the blasters, the guns, and all that. And just get in, just do something a little fun, a little ridiculous. Even that sometimes a little scary, too. Well, then you also had like Hero Starfighter, which I know it's not a very popular game mode. I tried it a few times and I wasn't really a big fan of it. Like the game even has, like we were just saying, introduced so many other game modes. They had a jetpack cargo in there for a little while. And I'm really sad they didn't actually keep that game mode because I thought that was actually a very fun game mode. I had one game when I played that, and I was literally the only one who would pick up the cargo, bring it all the way to where I needed to go. Because you had to do it, I believe it was like three times or so, something like that. Even too, like, there are things Battlefront 2 didn't do any better than Battlefront 1. Like, Battlefront 2015 had the season pass. And for me, the season passes were actually, probably the more fun parts of the game, which, of course, any game where you get DLCs are normally a lot more fun. The first one was the Outer Rim, which, again, you got Jabba's Palace. And you got Extraction and a couple, you got new heroes like Greedo and Nine Nub, which honestly for me are probably some of the best heroes in that game. And then you get to Bespin. Bespin was okay. I wouldn't say it was like amazing by any means, but again, new heroes there, Lando and Dengar. And then you get the Death Star DLC, which, of course, the Death Star was just amazing to play in. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Battle Station game mode, so. But there you got Chewbacca and Bosk. And then the Scarif DLC came out, which that came out right in time for Rogue One when it came out, and probably the best of the DLCs. If I could rank the DLCs, actually, I could probably rank them right now. It'd be Scarif, Outer Rim, Bespin, Death Star for me. But even that game, you had a handful of modes. They even had special game modes for each and every single DLC that came out. Again, you had Extraction for Outer Rim, Sabotage for Bespin, Battle Station for Death Star, and Infiltration for Rogue One. And even speaking of Scarif and Rogue One, that was actually the last update we got. We got Scarif finally. But at the same time, it's kind of sad that, they decided they didn't want to do any more updates or add anything else in for the Battlefront 2. Because there are so many different things they could have added. They could have still added in more heroes. They could have added in more maps. I know a lot of people have been trying to hype up and trying to convince DICE to put in Asajj Ventress and Ahsoka in the game. Of course, you guys kind of already know my thoughts about all that kind of stuff. I'm not the biggest fan, so I really it wouldn't have intrigued me enough to want to get back in and play it. But I made a video too about the maps that I would want. There were so many we never got. We could have gotten Utapau. We could have gotten Mustafar. I still wanted to see like Jeddah from Rogue One. Even getting to play on like Snoke's big battleship, the Supremacy. We didn't get to see that. I even wanted to, like, the arena on Geonosis, have that be like a heroes versus villains map. Just a little map, have all the heroes just go at it, have a bunch of people in the crowd sitting there cheering and booing and whatnot. And I can't really remember every single map that I wanted on that game, but those were the ones I knew for sure that I wanted. They could have even added like in a lot more skins. Like one of the skins I really wanted to see, of course, I think a lot of people did, was like old Ben Kenobi. I would have even liked to see, old Han, since that's my favorite version of Han, the one from The Force Awakens. Even have like Padawan Obi-Wan. There we go. I was getting tongue-tied there trying to spit it out. But there's just so much more potential they could do with this game. I mean, I also don't know if, because I know there's talks right now that the reason that EA and DICE decided to just kind of give up on Battlefront 2 is because they're going to start working on, I think it's Battlefield 6. Since, of course, Battlefield 5 did not do good. I think I got like halfway into one match, and I think I deleted it because it just was not my cup of tea. But the endless possibilities of what they could do. I mean, they added in, the second Death Star in the game, but they could have added in, the original Death Star, and they could have even brought back, the trench run and stuff, have the space battle up above the Death Star and whatnot. Again, they could have done Mustafar. Could have had Anakin there. Could have even added in like the little... If you guys played the Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith video game, they're actually... I don't even know what the race is, but like the Separatist leaders, they had a bunch of their race there defending them, and they were like big hulking guys. We could have had them as like reinforcements. Even again, getting to play on like Utapau, where Obi-Wan and Grievous were fighting on. You could have went to multiple areas. You could have even had like the ship there, Grievous flies in on. You could have even had Coruscant have the Jedi Temple. I mean, the endless possibilities of what they could have done. Like, in a sense, it doesn't entirely bother me that they're giving up on the game, essentially, or they're not going to do any more community transmissions. But at the same time, I mean, they're kind of foolish for doing it because there's so many different ways people could get back into the game, or even people who have been interested in the game, but they're just very hesitant on wanting to get it. It'd be another good way to invite in new players. Again, even adding in more heroes. I know a lot of people have... I think the amount of heroes we have is good enough, but even though I'm not fond of it, you could bring in Ahsoka. You could bring in Asajj Ventress. You could bring in Mace Windu, Jango Fett. You could even bring in Qui-Gon Jinn. You could bring in Cad Bane from the Clone Wars TV show. You could even bring in like characters from Rebels. You could bring in Inquisitors, Kanan Jarrus, Ezra Bridger. You just don't know why they're giving up so easily. And I know you guys are probably thinking too, well, you're saying this, but you're also saying that. It's a mixed bag for me. I will willingly say that. It's a mixed bag. Like, for somebody who was basically a diehard player, I wouldn't say I was a pro, but I was an average player in the game. But for somebody who put, a lot of time, a lot of efforts, a lot of grinding, many, many, many hours of anger, frustration, happiness, joy, all that stuff in between, to just see a game just basically like die. Like, even for a little while too, like I didn't play Battlefront 2 and I re-downloaded the first Battlefront and I was playing that again and I saw more people in there playing that than going and playing Battlefront 2. So if you guys are still playing Battlefront 2, you'll still get your enjoyment out of it. I mean, there's still so much you can do. There's so many maps you can play, so many heroes to play as, different classes you can try and play around with. I hope they can maybe, if they end up coming with like a really good idea, because I know too, they even added in, which I really didn't think they were serious, but after like looking at it, it was real. They even added in like BB-8 and BB-9E as heroes in the game, which I thought was a little strange, but. And of course, again, with the Last Jedi DLC, we were getting new reinforcements, the Jump Trooper, I guess it's called the First Order Jet Trooper, sorry, and the Sith Trooper. And I got in and I played a little bit, but I didn't get into like play as like Rey or Kylo or any of the droids, because I couldn't get into the same map that I wanted to get into. But I got to play as a Sith Trooper, and I'll definitely say probably the best reinforcement in the whole game. I mean, of course, you got your droidicas, your super battle droids, you got your jump troopers for the rebels, your rocket troopers. You even got your Wookiees for, I guess we could just say the light side, essentially, the rebels, the resistance, whatever. But even there, too, you could add in different reinforcements. I can't really name any at the top of my head that I could honestly think of right now, but even add in like more hero ships. I mean, again, you could have Obi-Wan and his, Anakin and his. Trying to think of who another one is. I mean, you could even bring in the Corvus from the Battlefront 2 campaign. Heck, even maps from the Battlefront 2 campaign you could bring in, like Vardos. I mean, I wanted to play Vardos. Just being able to play around it in just that little bit of the DLs. Well, I guess part of the DLC, but also just in the base campaign. I mean, you could use that for like a Galactic Assault or an extraction map or whatever. Even bringing in planets again, like, Mustafar or Utapau. You could add in another kind of game mode for that. Again, I don't know what is. I'm just spitballing ideas here, just kind of spewing things out, essentially. I'm sad the game is basically, going to be dead. I want to get back into it. I want to see how else it's grown since the last time I played it. Because I spent a lot of time playing like heroes versus villains. Because, of course, I talked quite a bit about the heroes in the game and what other heroes they could add in. I took time to, I'd play, like Galactic Assault, and when they added in, oh, what's it called? Not Battle Station. Something command or command something. Capital Supremacy. There, that's what I was trying to say. Wow. But they added that game mode in, and it's honestly, when I made my top 10 things I want in Star Wars Battlefront II video, I said I basically wanted them to bring back the original Battlefront 2 game mode where you had to go around and, capture command posts. Essentially, that's what this is, but you also get to go up into space and you get to, I don't even remember. I think you just have to go in, you just have to beat everybody, or you have to destroy specific cannons or engines or whatever. I can't remember, like I said. But the future for the game could be brighter. They could add in more content. I mean, I understand the game is going on 3 years old this year. And again, the developers and everybody else, I mean, they did a great job, almost essentially like resurrecting the game, because it was on its last leg here towards the end of the solo season. And then when they announced the Clone Wars, everybody started getting more excited, and they started getting back in, saving up their credits to unlock Obi-Wan, Grievous, Anakin, Dooku. Like, at first, I wasn't at all, like, excited to hear that, like, Dooku was coming into the game, because he wasn't really one of my, like, favorites in the prequel trilogy. But he actually ended up being, for me personally, out of all of the heroes, the best. Followed up probably by Grievous, then Obi-Wan, and I put Anakin in last place, because for me, Anakin is just too overpowered. I will probably get back into the game. I will probably give it a try again. Granted, I'm not going to promise that it's going to be, super, super enjoyable for me, but I'll try to get back into it. Because I know last year I wanted to do a live stream of it for like May the 4th, because I thought maybe they'd do something kind of, fun or interesting with it. And that was another thing too I wanted them to add into the game. That's another thing they could even do like a special like May the 4th kind of celebration / community challenge or something. But again, I mean, if they're not going to do nothing more with the game, I mean, they're not going to do anything more with the game, which obviously, like I said, I've already said my piece on that part. But again, I want to try to give the game another try. Maybe I can get back into it and enjoy it. So if you guys end up seeing me on there, you can say hi. You can add me on PSN. We can get on. We can try and play. But overall, guys, I'm not entirely broken that, Battlefront 2 is basically gone. They're not going to be adding anything else in. But again, the game has had a very good life. It's had really good ups and downs. It has great heroes, great maps, beautiful settings. Even though it might not be the greatest of any Star Wars game, but you do have the campaign. You can play offline modes. I mean, it does have a lot to offer still. And who knows, maybe the developers, maybe they'll change their mind. Maybe they'll eventually think about something. Maybe they'll revitalize it. Or maybe they're going to be saving their ideas for another Star Wars game. Because I was really surprised with EA when they actually made Jedi Fallen Order. Like, Fallen Order really exceeded my expectations. Like, of course, obviously everybody heard, oh, EA is making another Star Wars game, so automatically microtransactions. No, not the case. Straight up 100% a campaign-based lightsaber combat force wielding Star Wars game. And it ended up being, I guess, out of the games I bought last year, probably my second favorite game of the year. But I'm excited for when Fallen Order 2 comes out. I also said my piece on that. I really think they should just add in like a DLC. But again, maybe that's why they're saving it. Maybe because they're going to be working on Fallen Order next, and maybe they're going to be working on a possible Battlefront 3, or maybe something completely different to get us into a new realm of the galaxy or something. I don't know. But all in all, you guys, I did have a great time playing Battlefront 2. Again, it is sad to go, but at the same time, I'm not entirely heartbroken about it. But I think that is going to do it for this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will try to do a Mandalorian podcast again if I can actually remember everything without stuttering the entire time or having a bunch of brain farts. And also, too, I wanted to quickly announce that on May the 4th, hopefully it works out, I want to try to get a number of guests, and I'm not saying like at one time, and I'm not like specific on like who I would want to have on, but I'm looking for multiple guests to be on this podcast on May the 4th, because I'd like to hear other people tell me their Star Wars story. Basically, I'd bring one person on. I'd give them a decent amount of time to tell us their Star Wars story and want to take time and talk about a specific topic within the Star Wars realm, whatever. So if you guys are interested in that, head on over to my Discord. Join the server Midwest Cantina Podcast, or you guys can message me directly on my Instagram. Just follow me at SPCBird317 1993. But if you guys are at all interested in being on that podcast, let me know, because I am looking for guests. If we end up not getting any guests on, I'll probably try to come on. I'll try to come up with a backup plan if I can't find guests again. But anyway, guys, make sure you stay tuned for that May the 4th special podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, enjoy Battlefront 2 while you can. And make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.